type of tea you drinking today?
I am drinking a raspberry pomegranate tea, which is
Nice.
very good. What about you?
I'm drinking shoot, it's called like traditional medicines. It's a throat coat
Mm,
with lemon echinacea.
which I do think you probably need.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to drink some like right now. Like, oh no, no, no,
Look
no,
at
it's
that.
too hot, too hot. All right, everyone, welcome back. Sorry about the 2 weeks dry spell. Um, you know, had some conflicts, or you know, so somebody had a little film project that they were doing with your friends for college. Gabe, how was that?
It was pretty fun. I considered it a good learning experience. I never worked on a movie before, so this was my first time. I got to do a lot of camera work, which is what interests me. So that was very nice, and it was all around a good time. All the people were very nice. It was fun to hang out with them and everything like that, and it
Nice.
was good fun.
Yeah, the cameras. No, no, not the camera. The pictures that you showed me were actually pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
also I got to mess around with the boom mic as well, just because the boom
Ooh,
operator let me, which was a lot of fun.
nice. I want to mess around with the boom mic.
It's pretty fun. I won't lie.
Yeah, like Apple didn't let me mess around with their boom mic.
Apple, Apple's not gonna let you do
Yeah, they're not
anything.
gonna let
If
me
you're
do
not hired
it.
to do that, you're not gonna touch it.
Yeah, so we had that, and somebody decided to get chicken pox. So
Yeah, how was that?
it, it wasn't fun, Blisters on my feet, on my forehead, which are gonna scar, most likely, and then in my scalp. So yeah, it was fun. Not
That sounds like
moving.
a blast.
It was fun. I'm so glad I decided to get chicken pox. That was awesome. All right, well today we're talking about a very special movie. One that just we were going through and we're like, this is the one. This is the next one we're gonna do. So we decided on Luc Besson's 1994 action thriller drama, Léon the Professional. Originally called The Professional.
But it got a name change for whatever reason. I really don't know
I
why.
don't know. Like people are like, have
I
you
think
seen
I
The
read
Professional?
as to why they changed the name, but I kind of forgot now.
Yeah. I like
Or maybe I glanced over it. I really don't know.
I just always was like it's Léon the Professional or Leon.
That's always what I knew it by, but originally it was the professional.
Yeah.
Like just the professional.
So, oh well. We'll figure that out. But the film stars Jean
I think it's John.
Jean Jean Reno. We'll say Jean because he's French. The film stars Jean Reno, Gary Oldman, and Natalie Portman in her first
12,
motion picture.
12-year-old Natalie Portman.
12-year-old.
It's her first like big breakthrough. This is like a big movie for
Yeah, this
12-year-old Natalie Portman,
is her big breakthrough role. This is like
which is
one.
crazy because she
Well,
does a fantastic job.
Yeah, I mean, like I read some cool stuff and I incorporated that until later. But yeah, the movie was made with a $16 million budget, making $46 million at the box office. I mean, this movie has become a cult classic. I mean, you heard your parents this morning, like whenever we told them, like we're doing Leon the Professional, like, oh, that's such a great movie. I mean, like I know a guy who did he took a class, and one of his classes was just all in Leon the Professional. He's like, dude, there's like so much
There is.
detail.
There is so much in this movie.
Like-
This is why it's one of my favorite movies.
Like he didn't want to go into it. He was like, I'll tell you this much. The tablecloth at the very beginning, we spent an hour on that.
The tablecloth?
The tablecloth.
in Leon's apartment?
Well, no, I think he meant like the one that like I got a job for you. This fat guy, coming back into town. So yeah, how about we get into it?
All right.
So without further ado, sit back and relax. You got the Bowtie Movie Lounge. All right, so now we do like a little pause. This is where we cut, and we're gonna intro in. We're gonna have the little intro. So yeah. So all right, let's see. Gonna take a second, kind of stare in. All right, now time to discuss Leon the Professional.
all right.
So Gabe, what do you think about the movie?
do you want me
good?
to drop the synopsis first?
We'll do that. Like, how about next.
All right.
Like right after, what do you think about the movie? Is it good or bad?
This movie is not good. It is fantastic.
You did that.
Got him.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, for me, I think this is an amazing movie.
It is amazing.
It's I guess you could say I thought it was a fantastic movie too.
It's one of my top favorite movies because this story, it's very heartwarming, sad, tragic, but it's so good.
Exactly.
It's so nice. It's like this dude's so nice to this little girl, and
It's got so much character and like detail into it. But yeah, I mean, before we do that, like you said before, you want to give us the synopsis?
I got you.
Yeah.
So, the story of Leon the Professional follows Leon, played by Jean Reno, and he is a professional hitman who reluctantly takes in a 12-year-old Matilda, played by Natalie Portman, after her family is murdered by a corrupt DEA agent, Norman Steinsfield, played by Gary Oldman. Leon and Matilda form a unusual bond with each other as she becomes his protege and learns the hitman's trade.
Hitman's trade. I'm a cleaner. He's a cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he often calls himself a cleaner.
Cleaner. That's cool.
Cleaner of man.
Well, how about we start with the first like crazy opening?
All right.
I mean, like the cool classic like city street scene, like where you're going over Manhattan, you're going over like Central Park, and like the music there is like just kind of sets the tone. It's like just the music really sets the tone there, but you're going through and all of a sudden like you're in this like little Italy, like Italian market, and it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I guess we're in the mafia world.
Yeah, really. So it's like you start off by meeting our milk-loving protagonist by his employer. So we meet Leon and his employer, who goes by Old Tony, and he's played by Danny Aiello. Aiello?
Shoot. Alo? I don't even know.
I don't.
He's guessing
I don't really know how to say his name, but for the whole opening sequence, I love it because you don't exactly see the full face of Leon at that moment or
Right.
Old Tony. They kind of do like a mysterious introduction to where you see only like his glasses or his hand picking up the milk as he drinks and slams it back down, which I freaking love that. It's really funny. And, I love that opening. But he's given a job by Old Tony.
Old Tony.
Old Tony gives Leon a job to kind of scare a guy who goes by Fat Man, who's played by Frank Singer. And, he's just sent to scare him and to never coming back to New York again.
Yeah, he kills all of his henchmen who probably have families back home.
Yeah, rip them.
Yeah, he killed some guys that actually looked like cool. Like the guy Tonto. He seemed pretty cool.
Yep.
It's
like one of my favorite quotes in the movie comes from that. He's like, Tonto calls up the Fat Man and he's like, somebody's coming up. And he's like, what does he look like? Serious. And then he shoots him.
Yeah. It's like, but no, I think that line, once you hear that, you're like, oh,
somebody serious.
And then like the way, like that guy delivered it pretty well. And then of course, once you see him shot, you're like, oh, this is a guy that doesn't take prisoners.
Yeah, he's not messing around.
He's definitely not messing around. He really is serious. And then of course it's like just the whole scene. He's just going through everybody. Like he pulls the dude down the stairs, and then he like hangs the dude, and like all the sound effects for him are like pretty great, honestly. Like where like he like comes out of like the little
wall
square,
or the ceiling or whatever,
and then like hangs the dude, and it's like.
But the whole time you never actually see Leon until the very end when he confronts the Fat Man.
It does pop up from like underneath the stairs, like where he comes out and pulls the dude.
Yeah, but it's never like it's quick things, but you don't fully hear him talk or like see his full body, or just like a long moment where you can really see what he looks like until the very end.
Right.
Which I think kind of helps build the character of Leon and his professionality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how I say that. And because he moves very methodically, he's very swift. He knows how to outthink his enemies and get around places fast because he pops up all over the place, and he blocks all the exits within like a few seconds.
Yeah, or he like gets rid of the blocks to all the exits. Or in the, well, no, he blocks them.
Because
But
that's
then,
what they say in the movie is that he blocked the exits
yeah,
by putting bodies in front of him.
that, and then it's like he also said those guys. He said those guys guarded all the exits.
Yeah.
or
And now they were
entrances.
all gone.
And now that they're all gone, like they're vulnerable now, and it just like you're like, this is why the movie's called The Professional, because everything did kind of feel, things kind of felt like real and then not at the same time.
I think like realistically he wouldn't have been able to get around that fast.
Yeah,
But I think it in this case I'm like, oh, I'm okay with it because it helps build his character and
Right.
how good he is at his job.
it was a lot of like hand-to-hand combat too. It wasn't like him getting like clean shots. And
Yeah, no,
stuff
he
like
was
that.
there like
Yeah.
well, he used a gun, but mostly
did.
hand to hand. He was in their faces.
Like in the beginning, he was trying not to draw attention. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
And then my favorite scene that came out of that opening is whenever the fat man, he's all by himself and he doesn't know where, and he starts like backing up into like this corner, or like a corridor that
Mhm.
it's like completely shadowed, and then Leon, you see the knife and then his face emerging,
yeah,
and
it was
he's like,
kind like throwback to like last episode. It was kind of like Michael Myers coming up.
it was one of those. I am a sucker for those kind of moments. Is
Yeah.
whenever someone emerge out the shadows and like catches somebody off guard, I'm a sucker for those.
Like I wasn't scared for off topic, but like when I went to like the 13th Gate haunted house, I wasn't scared for most of like the stuff. The one thing was like just a pirate guy that stepped out of the fog, and I think like the same thing. I love stuff like that because it's creepy. It's like, whoa, they were there the whole time, and like kind of like it's creepy like in the real world,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And so to see that in a film and done like that, it's just, I don't know. It
It's
just
it's
really
freaky.
gets you.
It's like he was there the whole time and expected the fat man to back into that corner. He's like, he's coming back here. I'm just gonna be there.
But at the same time, like in this scene, you saw it coming a mile away, but it was executed really well.
And then also, what helps like amplify this moment is the music. Also changes. So it's got the music going, and then he sticks the knife to his neck, and then music just cuts, and it goes
Yeah.
like silent.
I did notice that.
Which I love that. I thought that was like a great editing choice right there.
I love like, score drops like
Mhm.
that where it just drops off.
And that happens multiple times in the movie,
Yeah, it does.
which I just think it helps like
Just like give it
Just make it feel-
amplify the effect.
yeah, it just feels very cool.
Definitely. But yeah, so that then the next thing we have is when he's at the his apartment, which I found to be very, very good, like character insight.
Mm-hmm.
Just showing him like, okay, this guy, you did just watch him murder all these people. There's that little like interaction with Matilda too, who you don't really know. It's gonna be set up later.
Yeah,
All
it's
you
our
know is that
introduction to Matilda.
she's just, a little girl. You're like, it's Padme Amidala from Star Wars, like 12 years old, and she's smoking. So you're like, something must be going on, and you see the bruise. That's all. But then it goes into follows him into his apartment, and it's like, okay, why is he taking such pristine care of his plant? And then why is, it's just, you're seeing how organized he is, and, I'm pretty sure he cleans his guns at that point. And you're like, okay, this guy, like, he's a loner. He's more of a hermit. You don't really know. He's still mysterious, but you're getting to know him a little better and connect to him on an emotional level.
Yeah, and then you also, before he goes into his apartment, he has an interaction with Matilda. She's like, "Hey," and they just have like this weird interaction. But he's so like he doesn't talk to anybody ever.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get a really good feel for how much of a loner he is. Like later you see his apartment, but before all that, you also get introduced to Norman and Malky and his whole gang.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? So like Matilda and Leon have an interaction, and you can see how much of a loner he is because he doesn't really know how to talk to her. He's just
Right.
kind of like he just like nods. He doesn't ever really
Yeah.
say words.
Doesn't really say anything, and then when he like leans in and he's like, "What happened?" To her, for her face.
She's
That's
like,
when
"Fell
she
off
says
my-"
she fell off her bike.
And then he just kind of like, it's like,
Like, okay,
and then leaves.
sure.
And then You got Malky. Who's Malky played by?
Milky.
He's by Peter Appel. So Malky is played by Peter Appel, and he is Norman, who is played by Gary Oldman, like his kind of like right hand man.
Yeah, his sidekick.
And so this is also a big foreshadowing for what's going to happen later in the movie, is because Dad, like Matilda's dad, and Malky are having a conversation about some drugs that they were dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
and how some like 10% of it has gone missing,
Yeah.
and they know that Matilda's dad stole it.
Something
And, like,
happened.
he had to have taken it, and so they have their whole little talk, and he's like, I didn't take it. I didn't take anything. And he's like, okay. And then
Which-
Gary Oldman walks over, does his weird sniffy thing, which is creepy, but
Well-
really works for his character.
Well, we'll talk about Gary's performance later on as Norman. But yeah, you're right. It's
Just
like a
creepy.
little insight on his character too. Like, okay, this guy's psychotic, really weird.
Because he's like sitting there smelling him. He's
yeah,
like-
like, dude, it's like he looks like he may smell good, but still, like, a little sus, bro.
Yeah, I know. And he does that, and he's like, we'll come back tomorrow at noon, which is big foreshadowing for what happens later.
yeah. You're like, okay, they're definitely coming back, but you don't know how. But yeah, then there's the insight on Leon's character, which I don't know why, like, all that other stuff was kind of like, oh, this is interesting, setting up for the story. But I just really like the insight on Leon's character, and then later on, like, Matilda's home life. See, she's kind of the runt of the family.
Mhm.
Her dad actually, like, smacks her in that stairway right after that interaction
Right,
with, Stansfield and Malky. And then, like, you're like, okay, so she actually is getting abused. She definitely did not fall off her bike.
And Leon watches that happen too from his window, or
That's
not his window, from his little door
little
peephole.
people. But yeah, no, like,
I enjoy after that interaction about the drugs and everything with the dad and Malky and Norman, is you get to see both of their lives. So first you see Leon's home life. So it's like before you see him as like this really cool hitman who's super slick, stealthy, everything like that, and then you see his house and he is like alone. He
you
only
see,
drinks
like,
his milk,
you also see all the guns he had on.
and also he takes off his trench coat and he's an arsenal.
Yeah, and he's even got like bolt cutters and like a big side holster. It's a really nice looking leather like belt, or that like utility harness. But no, that was awesome. What else? Yeah, so I mean,
Also, one thing about that, and whenever you're in his apartment, if you listen to the music's kind of sad,
yeah, kind of somber.
because it's like he's alone, so it's sad. And then
Right.
yeah, it's kind of just like a really sad moment, and you just see him like, then you see him kind of end his day.
Mm-hmm.
He takes his plant in, he kind of cleans it, does a lot with his plant's big deal,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just goes to sleep on his chair,
Yeah.
which he like puts his glasses on, has his gun right next to him, he sleeps like this, which shows that he's got always like one eye open.
Yeah, he's always prepared.
He's always prepared.
He's always prepared. He's always been alone. He's a loner. So like that's what you kind of learn. Those are like key aspects. Is he's alone. He's organized. He's prepared. He doesn't want anyone like invading on his personal life. He's got everything set, and he knows
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Which I do like a lot, that both Matilda, which I'm just going to we're going to go into Matilda's
Yeah, we'll
home
go
life,
into
and then I'll
Matilda.
explain what I was about to say. So, after Leon goes to sleep, then it starts the next day, and you get to see what Matilda's home life is like.
Mm-hmm.
So she is, like you said, the runt. She just gets like smacked around a lot.
Yeah.
Like her sister hits her a bunch whenever she wants to watch her cartoons,
Yeah.
and then the parents completely like neglect them. But then you also see the love that she has for her little brother, who's like 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and the brother is the only one that she likes in her entire family.
Yeah. Because she explains like they're the only like full siblings. Because she and the sister are like half siblings.
Yeah.
And she said not a good half at that. But yeah, you just see how her family neglects her, of course.
And how like she's abused.
Yeah, just kind of by her whole family. Some of it was kind of like, that's kind of normal, like older sibling beating on the younger sibling.
But it's the
for
fact that the parents
shady-
didn't do anything about it. Like
Right.
usually, whenever there's a sibling rivalry going on, the parents are like, "Don't
Hey.
do that." They just completely ignore it
And then
keep
yeah, the dad
doing their
was
stuff.
like cursing around, like, "Why don't you tell her to go do something?"
They're like, "Go get some food or something." Like the mom started yelling at her. She was like, "You don't need to be sitting watching cartoons. Go get us some food."
yeah, it's like, okay, you gotta let your kid wander around alone. I don't know. I mean, I've
They neglect her a lot.
I haven't grown up in New York. You know, it
Me
looked like
neither.
maybe the Brooklyn area. I don't know, but I guess that's maybe how it is. Maybe in the '90s.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But then you also get to see a glimpse into Leon's morning life.
Yeah, how he's kind of like watching, what's going on, and then of course,
puts his plant out to
Yeah.
get some sunshine. He does his sit-ups
yeah,
and then he drinks his milk.
it's like
He loves his milk.
he's more organized, and then you get like the milk thing where he just loves his milk. Which
Love-
I need to start drinking more milk like that. But yeah, and then one of like the best insights on him was whenever he went to the theater.
Oh yeah, that is, I think.
Yeah, like whenever you went to the theater, and
Yeah.
it sets up like his character, like how he actually is, how he like is, to people's eyes, and like to as the viewers, like, okay, he actually like cares about things. There are things that like he takes enjoyment from, which is just like an old shoot, what's that old actor's like name, like Gene something. Anyway, so like he loves like old movies and loves like musical.
Actually, so the way I took that is like the difference between Leon, which also this has to do with the milk, which I did some reading on. But Leon is almost like I don't want to say innocent, but like
Yeah.
from a child's point, he's like innocent. He sees this movie and he's super excited to see it, which I love. It's so
Yeah, I
funny.
love that. He's like looking around, like, are y'all enjoying this as much as I am?
And it's
this
like
is
he's
awesome.
so excited. He's like a child when he sees these things. But then you got Matilda, who is, I would say, more mature in kind of that aspect
Yeah,
of
she's
like,
almost more mature than
because
he
she's
is.
younger, and younger people, that you'd consider them more mature, but she is exposed to a lot of like what an adult should only be exposed to. Like a child should not be exposed to the things that she was at her age.
Right.
So she was more mature faster. And like Leon, he's so lonely and isn't exposed to so much that he's watching this movie and he's like, this is amazing.
Right. I'm gonna save like this for like a later topic. But yeah, I mean that's also what it kind of introduces you to is how, like, as he's almost like a kid in a man's body. He's almost like a kid. He's almost like emotionally like repressed and emotionally heightened in some different ways, like other than an adult. But I mean, at the same time, he's like a hitman, knows what he's doing. It just shows, and then we'll talk about that later. But no, like that's what it's showing, and then of course it cuts back to with him. It's like a real quick scene, but really deep, and him going back, and then that's where it sets up the scene where Matilda's bleeding, and he gives her something, shows them a little more interaction between them, where she shows that she trusts him. And then like she leaves. She's like, "Hey, you want some milk?"
Oh yeah,
And
she
then-
asks if he wants her to get some milk.
So that's where she leaves. And then right as she leaves, that's when
Norman,
yeah,
his gang
Norman
shows up.
Stansfield and his gang shows up. And it's probably like 11:59. Right.
Yeah, and he starts pulling up, and then he pulls out his pill thing, shakes it, and he's like, it's always quiet before the storm. Or I like these little quiet moments before the storm, and then he takes it and he goes like,
Anyway.
which is insane. Like Gary Oldman, goodness gracious, does a fantastic job with
Yeah.
the character.
He takes it up a good notch, but he executes that
He does
pretty well.
It's like he takes his drug, and he's so creepy when he does it.
Yeah.
He's such a weirdo,
He is a weirdo.
and he
He's
does
a
a
weirdo.
really good job of like portraying this character of Norman Steinsfield,
Yeah.
because it's just he's a creepy man.
And then of course, like you can tell the guys around them. Like I thought it was funny. Did you think like the guy when they were coming up, see the guy in the flannel? Did you think he looked like the guys from The Big Lebowski?
The hippie?
No, not the hippie, but there was like another guy. I think he like dies in this scene.
Oh, and
like,
the drug
I don't
bust.
know. I was like, they look like they're coming to get the dude's money,
That's
and
funny.
they're gonna like drown Matilda's whole family in
In
a
the toilet.
toilet. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I didn't know if you saw that or not.
I wasn't paying attention. I guess.
But yeah, no, that's when they like stormed. Well, that's when Norman.
Yeah.
That's when Gary storms the apartment.
Yeah, Norman Steinsfield cranks a shotgun, shoots the door,
Yeah.
busts in, starts blasting everybody.
Yeah.
The sister starts running off. She gets like shot in the back. He kicks the door down to the bathtub that the mom is in and shoots her in the bath.
Oh.
And then he goes over to the dad while the
That's when he does
4-year-old's
a
like hiding under. Yeah, he goes,
I love that part. It's like you don't like Beethoven.
"You're not a Beethoven fan."
Yeah, you can. That's when his accent kind of pops out a little bit. He's like, "You don't like Beethoven," which he improvised. Like,
Did he?
yeah, he improvised a lot of that. He did like a different. Apparently, he did like a different take, like, every time.
I
He
didn't
did a
know that,
different.
actually.
He came up with something different every time. Like, the whole thing. He's like, but in this work, it gets a little light. Like he's.
Oh, whenever he's like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like preludes like that, my blood boiling, and then after that he gets a little boring. So like all of that like was improvised by him,
Hmm.
which I thought was cool. Didn't know if you
that
knew
is,
that. Or
I did not know that. Which
Um,
is shows how good of an actor Gary Oldman is.
I mean, hey, he did stage work. That's what comes from that. But yeah, that of course just shows how cruel he actually is. He's like we said, noon. I've got 1 minute past.
Yeah, and he like shot his whole family.
Yeah, like Leon, he's also like very organized,
Very.
but he's gonna go in and kill like I don't know 17-year-old girl, shoot her
Yeah.
in the back, like that. I mean, around that age, and then kill the mom in the bath. Like that was a pretty sick shot.
It was like, poof, and then like
Yeah.
all the soap
All,
goes
all
flying. I
the
was like,
suds.
what?
Yeah, that was like, that was like
crazy.
and like the effect, like that was crazy. And of course like the aftermath that you see, like there's like the shot from behind that bathtub, and like
Mhm.
it just shows the sister on the floor, and then you're like, and then it shows the little kid. I know that at least for me, I was like, oh god, I like totally forgot there was like a 4-year-old
too.
kid.
Like the first time I was watching it, I was like, oh, dude, I totally
Yeah.
forgot about the kid.
Yeah, there's like a little kid. He's like under the bed right now.
I thought he was gonna get stabbed whenever like the one
Yeah.
guy he searches through the mattress to like find the drugs, and he like stabs into the bed that the little kid's hiding in. I thought he was about to get stabbed.
Yeah, looking for the drugs, which I was like, huh, yeah, that dad would probably, if he did cut it. At this point, you're like, did he cut it or did he not? Did they just come in and just start blowing stuff
Yeah, 'cause
away?
they don't find anything for a little while.
Then they finally do.
Yeah, later.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, if anything, he'd probably put it in his 4-year-old kid's bed. But yeah, I mean, the whole time, like, you forget about Matilda pretty much. At least I did. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean,
you forget that Matilda's out shopping.
because you get brought into this scene like very well.
You really
like
do.
you get brought in and you kind of forget about everything else that was happening. Like you forget about the 4-year-old, you forget about Matilda because you're just watching this scene. It's so intense.
All you get are some little shots of like Léon like through the little peephole,
Yeah, you're just kind of
staring
watching
out.
it. You're just like,
Yeah, you're right. Like you really do get like brought into the scene so much, and it's really impressive how like it had that effect on you. But yeah, no, like did such a great job with that. Again, Gary Oldman did such a great job in that scene.
But then after all that, the dad, like Matilda's dad, grabs a gun, shoots one of
Shoots the dude that I thought looked like
yeah,
the
it was
Big
just one of
Lebowski,
like Norman
Jeffrey Dean.
Steinsfield's goons. He just shoots him in the back and then tries to shoot Norman Steins, but only like clips his shoulder, and that makes the little 4-year-old dart out of the house, and then the hippie guy
Yeah,
just like mows him down with an SMG.
Willie.
You don't watch him die though, which I think is pretty cool.
That was good, but it was a cool scene.
Like,
Like,
he
well, that was a
runs-
cool shot of like,
Yeah.
it went to slow motion. It's just like the
Of
kid
him
running,
running, and then you hear like
and just like bullets.
flying.
Everything else is like real fast paced, but like then that one shot, you're like,
And then the way you know that the 4-year-old died is because Matilda returns.
mhm.
Well, actually, first Gary Oldman empties an entire magazine out of his revolver into the dad.
Yep.
Like, because the dad makes a break for it, and Gary Oldman just kind of like shoots him up.
Mhm.
But Matilda returns, and then you overhear a conversation as she's walking by because she sees what's going on, and then just heads to Leon's room. Very smart of her.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
But
she overhears,
she overhears,
like,
like-
dude, you killed a 4-year-old kid. Did you have to do that? That's where like everything changes because first she sees her dad
yeah, she sees her dad's
laying
body.
on the floor in a puddle of blood, and you hear that, and that's where you're like, oh, this is not good.
And then that's how you know that the son or the little 4-year-old brother had died because the conversation they had.
Yeah. And then, of course, like you said, she, I'm going to teach my kids how to do stuff like this is pass it up, go to that kind of creepy loner dude that you know down the hall, pretend like that's your dad or that's, where you're going, And then, of course, there was that whole interaction. She saw something was up because before she returns, that lady, like, why don't you leave that old family alone, And he shoots the glass right next to her.
Yeah, Gary Oldman.
And so she sees that, and she sees the dude standing right outside of her door. She knows trouble's up, and that's when she like goes to Leon's, and then that's a really suspenseful scene.
Yeah. What's
Like, the
nice though is
suspense-
because Leon almost doesn't let her in because he doesn't want to get like involved with everything.
Right.
But he takes empathy or sympathy and opens the door, which I do like the way they did that. Is because the door opens, and then you're like looking at Matilda and like light
It's like
shines on her.
light.
It's like it's her savior. She's like,
Yeah,
you're saving me. Thank you.
Salvation. But yeah, like that. I think it's Stansfield because they call him Stan.
Am I not saying Stansfield?
I think you're saying Steinsfield.
Oh, it might be.
Steinsfeld. Something Stein.
Yeah, I think I might be saying. Yeah, I know they call him Stan in the movie.
Stan.
Stansfield.
I might just call him Gary. Gary.
Gary Oldman.
But no, that's when she's let in, and that one goon, that one guy comes over and is suspects,
Because they're
that's the
now
girl
looking
'cause
for the
it
little
comes
girl.
out. Yeah, like Malky or something comes out. Like, man, we missed a 12-year-old girl. Because that's when they find the drugs and realize that's when you were like, oh, so the dad actually did. Because
They open up like a clock, and there's just like some dope in there.
yeah, like a radio or something, and that's when like, because by that point I'm like, did the dad really cut it? What
Yeah,
did you
no.
think? Did you think like he actually cut it and they were just being like, you
Well,
thought he
because like
actually
for the plot of the movie, he had to.
yeah, but at the same time I was like, man, this guy is
It'd been
like,
really unfortunate if he didn't, and then his whole
Yeah.
family just got like killed for nothing.
that's what I was thinking. Like, these like his sixth sense was off. So I like when he's got like a sixth sense. He could smell it
You
off
can
you.
smell if you're lying.
Yeah, he's like it's freaky, man. But no, like that's where I was like, oh, that may have been off, or he's psychotic, which he is. But I thought it was like maybe he just wanted to go like kill this family because I didn't think like the dad actually did it. But anywho, so that whole scene happened. That's where you're like, okay, so Matilda is stuck with Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that scene where the guy comes up, he's like listening, and you see Leon with a gun.
And he kind of like looks back and forth at the
Yeah, he's
people.
like-
and he's like,
Yeah, that was a good scene. That's when she turned on her cartoons and stuff. And the guy, I don't know why the guy was like, oh, never mind.
yeah. So the hippie is actually named Willie,
Willie.
and he's the one who finds the dope in the radio clock thing, and then then the police start showing up, and they're like, we were doing our jobs because they're DEA agents. So I mean, they were technically doing a drug bust.
Mm-hmm. Like, tell them we were doing. I thought he was about to say business, but he was like, our job. But yeah, no, Gary, what a man. but yeah, so then that's where the whole story with Matilda and Leon starts.
Hmm.
And that's like
And
that's,
so Leon, takes her into his room, or not his room, into the living room and sits her down at the table. And he's like, "Sorry about your family," or he's like, "Sorry about your dad." She's like, she doesn't care. Then she doesn't care about her
someone had
mom
to
and
do it.
sister. And then he's like, "Well, then why are you crying?" He's like, "Cause they killed my brother. He's 4 years old."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh."
What did he ever? Yeah. Like it shows the sympathetic part of Leon.
It shows that he does care because then he
Yeah.
does try to cheer her up with the little pig thing right
Mhm.
after that. He gets the little pig mitten, or she calls somebody pigs.
Yeah, she's like better than that pig. Or
Oh, talking
she's
about the
like I was
mom.
more of a mother than that pig. It's
Yeah.
like don't talk about pigs like that.
And,
She's
and
like
then he goes
she's
and
like
gets the little pig glove.
she's like they stink. You like pigs better than people. Like I got one in my kitchen. I love that scene because then like that's also another like thing where it's like maybe he's like a little off because he's really taking this like pig thing up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're kind of like maybe a little off, but it was
He's just
kind of
trying to make her feel better.
yeah, but like he was taking it up a little notch, and so that's where I was like, but at the same time I was like, okay, this guy he actually has some weird way with kids, in a good way. Let me rephrase that, in a good way. um, but yeah, I mean, that was a cool little scene. Um, but then that's where he walks away. She opens that box and like he's got all of his weapons of like mass destruction
That's
in
where
there.
he's like, what do you do?"
Yeah, she's like Leon.
Oh, oh wait, no, never mind, never mind. I was about to jump ahead. My bad.
No, you're good. Um, but
But
yeah,
so he
that's where like
they also share each other's names because before all their interactions, they don't know each other's name. And he's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Matilda." He's like, "What's yours?" And he's like, "Leon." And he's like,
Leon.
"Cute name." And he chokes on his milk. He's like,
that's
he's
the
like,
first time.
"I am out of milk.
No, let me
I
get
will
some
go
more.
get more."
I'll be back. Um, I guess I'm doing an Austrian accent instead of French.
I can't do a French accent.
French. I don't know. He has like a deeper voice that you affiliate with other.
But yeah, so when he goes to get more milk is whenever Matilda opens the box and sees all the guns,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "Don't touch that." He's like, "What do you do?" "I'm a cleaner."
Exactly. And I love that. Like I'm a cleaner. And then she's like a hitman. But yeah, no, it's awesome, and that's where she's like asking him to teach her.
Yeah. She's like, "I will work for you, cleaner, like do all the house stuff if she will teach him, or if Leon will teach her like the method of a hitman, like because she
Right,
wants to be a cleaner and get revenge for her family or her brother."
right. Cause let's see, was that the next day? Cause
Mm-mm.
okay, so yeah, so
Because there's one scene after that where he kind of declines and he's like, "All right, let's go to bed. You're not thinking right. You go to bed." And
we'll
she goes to
talk in the
bed,
morning.
because she has had a pretty darn stressful day.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Plus
he's like,
her
"Go to bed."
family.
And then he goes in there and he's like sitting on his chair, but then he almost goes and like shoots her,
Yeah.
which mega time threw me off. I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
This is when the music thing happens again, where the music gets really intense and he puts the gun to her head and then he takes away and the music just cuts off.
Yeah, just
He's like,
yeah.
and then he changes his mind.
I can't remember if I was gonna like ask this in a later topic that I had. I'll just
What's the
say
question?
like, what was the meaning of that?
I
Like,
actually really couldn't find out myself because it threw me off so bad. Like he was taking good care of her. Maybe he was just like,
was he having like a nightmare? Like he's like, ooh,
I think he was just
someone
trying to spare
finally
her.
invaded my private life.
Oh, and it was like, it was insecurity.
Yeah, it was like an insecurity.
He's like, somebody's here, or he might kind of
'Cause
he might be
ori-
feeling. He's like, "I'm gonna need to take care of this girl," and it's like, I can't do that. Let me just like put her out of her misery because she's gonna be hunted by these guys forever.
Yeah, it's like because then she said something like I can. No, she said that the next morning. I can go die tonight. I can feel it. But yeah, that's. She also asked like, "You'd kill anybody?" He's like, "No women, no kids." And I was like, "Man, he was about to kill a woman kid, like a little girl." You know, so he was about to break both of his rules at the same time. But no, like I was just really thrown off. I was like, "What's happening right now? Is
I
this like a
think you know what I
dream?"
think it might be on to something with like the it's
His
like his personal life is now being invaded by this girl and he has to like now protect her
right,
and he's probably like I don't know if I could do that and so he almost just like puts her out of her misery
yeah. I don't
but
know
then he
why.
decides not to because he's like
I don't know why. I have thought about that. I've had that question for a long time,
yeah every time I watch the movie I'm like
and like I would go to sleep like, why, why in the hell would he like go try to shoot this girl and put together an entire gun and then hold it to her head? I don't know why. Like this, I wonder if this is gonna happen a lot where I'm finally on the on the show, and I come up with an explanation.
well
That's
that
like
sounds pretty
the
good.
closest thing I can get to is someone finally invaded his privacy. Oh well,
Like he's starting to feel something so it's like making him like oh what's that
I don't like it.
like new feelings yeah
Yeah. Well,
but you know he changes his mind and then he just goes back to his chair
right. And that's where they wake up.
and he tells her that she's got a dip
Yeah, he's like, you gotta leave after breakfast. That's where she proposes the idea of like,
but through a note. She writes it, and he
yeah.
can't read or write.
That's where you kind of figure it
And
out.
so he's like, she's
But
like, you
she
can't read?
figures it
And
out
he's like,
for you. Yeah.
because
Like,
she writes it on a note. It's like, this is my, like, should be our deal, and hands it to him. He's like, I can't read that.
mm-hmm. So, then he's like, no, you're just a little girl. Um, and then that's where she like, okay, grabs the gun and just goes start
Oh,
shooting.
it's
into
because
the
he's
street.
like, she was like, I could teach you. He's like, no, go. And she was like, I want to learn how to clean. And he hands her the gun, and he's like, here,
Go-
parting
yeah,
gift,
go clean.
And then she just takes and starts shooting. And then he takes her under his wing.
Yeah, that's where it's like, right after that,
He was
it's
like, I don't think you can do it. And she just takes a gun and starts shooting.
how's that? And then, just like, okay. And then it's like, that's where it's the street scene, and you see that she's still there, and you're like,
'Cause they
okay,
leave.
he had a change of heart,
It's like he doesn't exactly say it, but you see it in his face because you know he's a great actor,
Yeah.
like Jean Reno, and so you see it in his facial expressions that he's like, okay, never mind, maybe this girl can do it.
Yeah. I don't know how that would. It's like, shoot, I would be all about gun safety. Like, no, get out of my house. Like this little girl like shot out into the street. There are women and kids down there.
No, that was a bit reckless.
I would have probably been like, no, get out before I like smack you. Like,
I mean, he does say that, like when they're walking down the street, he's like, never do that again, or I will break
Yeah.
your head.
yeah, exactly. She's like, stop saying okay all the time. Okay. Okay.
Okay, good.
Good. But no, like I don't know if that would have convinced me like, okay, I guess this kid's got it. Like I guess I will take this kid to train to be a cleaner. They're like,
Yeah, I don't think that convinced me either, but
I don't know. Oh
Um,
well. It's
I don't know,
he's French, maybe it's a little different.
maybe so.
I don't know. Nothing I don't know.
But then the next scene, after they walk down the street, you know, they go to the new hotel that they're going to be staying at. And this is kind of where Matilda, I think, was trying to prove her worth to
Yeah.
him because she just gets up to the front desk guy and just starts spitting all these lies out like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And John and Leon is just standing there like he doesn't say anything
Okay.
the whole time. He's always like,
Okay. Yeah, because like that's when he's like he hands him the
yeah, he
thing
can't
to
read
sign,
or
and
write.
he's like, oh, and that's when she's like, oh, you know how I love.
Yeah, she's just able to think on her feet very well.
Which I just realized. I don't know why I just realized this. Look, being like on here, just things come, which kind of proves because she must have gotten that from her dad, because like I was convinced that he did not cut the drugs, and part of it was because he must have been a really good liar. now I think she got it from him. You know, like that's what she got from her dad is
I mean, maybe, but
the
I
ability to
also
lie
think that
pretty well.
she probably had to learn how to lie. Like the environment she lives in, the family she lives in, how she lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's just probably always lying.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's just a skill and the kind of life setting that she has. That's something you develop is a good way of lying.
She was just able to get around everything. Yeah. But no, like that was good. Um like good insight on like her too and kind of like how well she could actually do as like a cleaner. You know, she would at least be thinking about like what to do next and just so like she uses her head, which is more important than, you know, just being able to mow through a bunch of people. But part of being able to mow through a bunch of people like Leon does is using your head. So that's where you could see the cogs turning in his head.
Yeah.
And then one thing I liked is when he goes to the room and starts checking everything out and inspecting. Well, what I thought was cool is that she noticed that. Like she's like, okay, this guy knows there's a lot more than just being able to handle stuff. You know, you
Yeah,
gotta
you gotta know your surroundings.
right. Like she was like, okay, he's checking all the windows, he's checking everything. That's where she asked him, like, I want you to teach me how to be smart like you know, and strong as you. So, you know,
So then he goes to old Tony's
old Tony.
and like requests the gun. So it's like the beginner weapon. It's like a little rifle that shoots like paintballs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it's a weapon that every beginner hit men learns. And so he went and checked it out and just kind of blamed it on trying to keep in shape, like with his weapons. And so, you know, he takes it. And he also, so they're on a roof of whatever building, and he teaches her how to dress and that like the order that you learn things, and that the rifle's the first one you learn, and then like a pro or a professional, as he says, would the last thing they learn is a knife. Which
Yeah.
then you see, you know, how much a professional he is from the beginning because he was using a knife,
Yeah, exactly.
which is the last thing you learn, showing he's
Which is
a
such a
professional.
cool like homage back to
the beginning.
very first scene.
It's like the beginning still had meaning in the middle, like in the middle-ish of the movie.
Right. No, that was really well done. You know, and like I like that analogy, like you know, like you mentioned. But like you were like, you know, the closer you can get to your target,
The more
such as a
professional you
knife,
are.
the more professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it was always about the target. And of course, you know, he's constantly like, nope, don't do the lens.
Yeah, he's like teaching her all the things, and he also says dress down,
Mm-hmm.
like you want to look like the floor, which I think is very smart.
Yeah, that was a really cool scene. But yeah, and then like that whole scene, I thought that like they were actually just gonna be killing a random person.
I did too at first. I was like, are they
Like,
just about to start shooting people?
Yeah, like that's
Because you don't know there's a paintball loaded in the gun.
you just think it's a sniper.
It looks like a little rifle, and they're like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna shoot this dude. And I was like, they about to just like shoot a guy?
Yeah. And they did. They played it off really well. Where he was shot. He was like, "Guys, I'm okay."
Oh yeah.
He's like, "Oh."
I don't even know who that dude
Like,
was.
"Get
He was just
down."
kind of
He's like,
there.
"Get off me! I just can't breathe."
It's there was like I kind of just thought about this. Matilda didn't know that it wasn't a loaded gun, like it wasn't just a paintball gun. Only
Mm.
Leon knew that.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't say that this is loaded with paintballs. She just kind of like shoots.
Yeah, she shoots, but then she does say like, "Can we try with real bullets now?" But she almost said it in a manner that kind of felt like she knew.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. It was Natalie Portman. She's everything she does is flawless. You know. You're just like Annie.
Yeah, she was a very good shot for so far with like no
She was.
weapon experience.
Yeah.
So-
That actually really was. You know, it's
She
like,
you don't see her shoot ever until then, and then she just like
well, when she does shoot into the street, she's like,
Oh,
see,
yeah.
I'm good. I'm reckless.
right. I forgot about that
No, that's all. I was just saying, like, she wasn't like aiming. She was just like,
shooting.
yeah. I don't know, but yeah. So that it's then it goes through like their little training montage.
Yeah, they got a
showing
training
that
montage.
they're understanding each other better.
It also shows just like it gives you a peek into what they're doing like every
Mhm.
day, where they're doing their drinking their milk, getting up early, doing their crunches or like their sit-ups to work on their abs.
Their abs.
And it kind of shows how uh Leon's picking up the role as a father,
Yeah.
like a father figure. And
Yeah.
also a way they show that is with milk,
Yeah, with milk.
because there's a lot of symbolism with milk. And I'm going to pull this
Yeah.
little link up real quick
Yeah.
if you want to keep talking. Just
No, like okay. I didn't realize like that's what I actually like I'm really curious about this. But no, like, I like the whole thing with their training together. Shows her dedication. At the same time she, you could tell she like, okay, this is what it takes. Oh boy.
yeah. Okay, so what we have on the milk. Um, so milk kind of stands. It's a fluid of innocence, and in this case, both Leon and Matilda, is like their childhood. Leon represents childhood in the ways that Matilda does not have it, and he does not know how to read or write, and he finds great pleasure in simple entertainment like that movie.
Hmm.
And um, it's like it also shows symbolism of wholesome and his paternal concern for Matilda, because like milk stands for like the fluid of life, nurturing and like caring. And so when they drink milk, not only is it like helping their bones and stuff like that, but it also shows his paternal care for Matilda. It's like it means like nurturing her in the ways of like a hitman, and he's taking
Interesting.
good care of her, sort of like you would, like a child with milk.
And probably like for himself too. I kind of feel like, like because he doesn't really have anybody. He's alone. It
Now
probably
he
helps
shares
him
milk.
feel. It was probably like trying to symbolize that to help him seem like, he's secluded,
Mhm.
or he's, shoot, I can't think of that word, and this always happens to me. But yeah, he's held together. He's, I don't know.
He
I just
he
thought it
just
symbolized for
enjoys
him
the
too.
company.
Wait, what?
He enjoys the company of having another person with him now. Like
Yeah.
they're starting to really get along with each other.
Yeah. No, I really like that scene where they're getting along.
Oh, and then like they also in the training montage you see Matilda is teaching Leon how to read and write and do all
Yeah.
those simple things.
Because you kind of forget that he can't.
Yeah, and so I enjoyed the little throw in there. If he's not only are they training for like hitman training, but they're also training for like reading
He's
and
training,
writing.
too.
He's training, not just both of them, but him as well.
Yeah. And then, like, does show her, like, cleaning and stuff. So she did, she was true to her word, and he, I guess, took it up.
But then after a while, after like the end of the montage, she gets burned out. She's like, "We got to do something fun,"
Yeah.
which I really enjoy, because then you really see they enjoy each other's company, because they played some dress up game.
They played charades.
Was it charade? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it was
Oh.
charades.
All right. Well, they were playing charades, and they enjoy it, and they have fun with the game. And then he explains about his plant. How it's his best friend.
Oh, yeah, he does.
And he's like,
That-
no
that
questions,
it
and
is.
no roots. Which I will get more into this plant later, probably near the end of the discussion
Yeah,
of like talking about the movie. But just because this plant has a lot of symbolism, I think.
it does.
But so he talks about his plant, and he's cleaning it and watering it, and then she shows him the weird quote where she's like, "You should be watering me instead of the plant."
Yeah.
And
That
like,
was, I was like,
I was like, that's a little weird way to put it.
Kinda
I know what she's trying to say.
felt
It's like-
grossed out by it. But then he,
He's like,
took it up, like, you're right. Ah, and,
he
like,
starts chasing her with a
screaming.
water bottle, and then they just start having fun with each other, which I enjoy seeing that they're not all work. They're also like some play,
Yeah,
and they enjoy
In
each
a
other's
good way.
company, and they have fun together.
yeah. That scene where like he locks her in the closet and is like spraying her.
And then they break the door.
It seemed like when the door broke, it like wasn't supposed to happen.
I don't think that was supposed to happen, but that
Yeah.
was funny.
It seemed like he was like, "Oh God, we broke a set piece, nice."
He's like, oh,
"Oh,
oh,
yeah." But yeah, no, that whole scene is real
It's
good.
very wholesome. It's kind of showing, more about their friendship, their bond is growing, more
Mhm.
about the paternal, like, how he's, father with their child, they play a lot,
Mhm.
supposed to be loving and friendly with your children. And so
Exactly.
that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. So yeah, do you think we should take a break now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, why don't we take a break? All right, well, we'll be back to discuss it. We're going to refill our tea, and we will be back.
See you in a minute.
Hey there, thank you so much for tuning in.
We really appreciate you taking the time to come and listen to our podcast.
We're trying to release an episode nearly every week, but we'd really love to stay engaged and to hear from you.
You can get in touch with us at mailbag@bowtiemovielounge.com, and we'll do our best to get back with you.
So please let us know what you think about the movies we've reviewed or ones you want to hear us do, along with any agreements or disagreements you may have with us.
And without further ado, let's get back into the podcast.
So please, sit back and relax. You're at the Bowtie Movie Lounge. All right, everybody, welcome back. Well, guess we're back from our break. Yeah, definitely started trailing off there at the end.
Yeah.
So I had to regain my thoughts. Had to get some more hot water for my tea because it was getting really cold. Because these are not really well insulated cups. Need to get some more cups. Anyway, so we're back to keep talking about it. Let's see. I already forgot where we left off.
So where we're leaving off is they were being friendly and everything, but so next Leon goes to visit old Tony. Old Tony. Who's like his hiring guy.
Yeah.
And Leon goes to start talking about his money, and he wants to give his money to someone. He doesn't specify it's Matilda. He does that later.
Mm-hmm.
But for the time being, he's just kind of like, if something were to happen to me, I'd like to give my money to somebody, like a little bit at a time.
And that's where Tony starts figuring out okay, there may be a girl,
Yeah.
a woman involved. And then that's where he tells Tony that he's been learning to read and stuff. And so I think that's where the guy that plays Tony, he's really good. Danny, we're trying to
Danny
say
Alo.
Danny. We'll just call him Danny. We're
Danny.
not gonna try to butcher his last name.
Yeah.
He did really good, with being okay, I don't know to be nervous because that's another discussion. Maybe we'll save that for later.
Yeah, sure.
On Tony. Old Tony. So yeah, so that's a pretty important scene where Tony knows that
He
finds out
there's somebody involved. And that,
something's going on, and that's where he actually tells Léon change isn't good. Pretty
Yeah,
sure that's
be careful.
where because he notices that Léon is changing.
But so old Tony then gets up after they have their money conversation to go get him a contract, and Leon notices that Matilda's talking to some guy outside, like some boy, and so this is where the father figure really shines, is in this part to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, I see her smoking with this dude, and he runs out there. He's like, he pulls Matilda to the side, and she's like, I want you to quit smoking, quit cussing, talk nicely to people,
Yeah,
and then also stay away from that boy because he looks like a weirdo.
Looks like weirdo.
He looks like weirdo.
I think we're doing a Russian accent. Man,
Mine sounds very Russian. I'm doing a really bad.
We're trying
French
so hard
accent.
to do the accents, but I think we're
I'm
butchering.
trying my best.
I'm trying my best
It's
too,
turning
man.
out to be Russian.
I'm very French. I was told I look 100% French. I'm gonna have to practice on it. Anyway, but yeah, no, you're totally right about the paternal figure peeking in here.
Yeah, it's because he's protective of Matilda.
Yeah,
So not only is he just training her and being friendly with her, he's now protecting her from smoking, cussing, and
It's like he's accepted his role as her.
because you never saw
mentor.
that with her other parents.
Yeah, he obviously took this up, and it really shines in this scene, and I
Mhm.
think he did such a great job with it. Very, I like to say, very well executed. But yeah, no, and then of course she understands.
And she listens to him. She's like,
She,
okay.
for the most part, there were a few scenes where the taxi driver, she was
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's oh, you didn't
she
fully
didn't
listen to him.
listen.
Didn't
But
listen to him.
She quit her smoking and talking to that boy. So.
Yeah, she did, or as far as much as we know.
Yeah.
Far as we know. But
So
yeah,
then they return to the apartment, and that's whenever Matilda tells Leon that she thinks she's in love with him, and he chokes on his milk again, which is, I love those scenes. They're so funny.
I was about to reenact that with my tea, but I don't want tea.
That might be a
all over my
mess because
shirt.
he's sitting there and he's like, "Poof," and it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he questions about the origins of her love, and she's like, I feel it in my stomach. It used to be a knot, but now it's gone. He's like,
it's in my belly.
glad you don't have a stomach ache anymore.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually like very funny in this. Obviously, he's uncomfortable by it.
He's very. That's why he chokes on his milk because he's like, because she doesn't really understand what love is. You know, she's too
Yeah.
young, hasn't ever experienced it before, so she's confused on her emotions.
I mean, and there's also like a probably a 30-year. I don't know how. It's hard to tell how old Leon is, but probably like a 30-year
He's 30.
age gap.
He's in his 30s.
Oh, he's in his 30s.
Mhm.
It's probably like 20-year age gap.
I
at
mean, she is
least.
12, so either way, it's just weird.
Yeah, she's 12. Even like if you're like 18 and 12-year-old's crushing you, it's just kind of like.
She probably feels the love that I'd have for my dad. Like,
Yeah,
that's probably what she.
like,
But she
like a
doesn't.
paternal love.
But she never knew what that was because her parents were just horrible to her.
That's true.
So she didn't know if she was like in love with him or had the father love, and so she's confused because she hasn't had the experience.
She definitely did have daddy issues,
Big time.
big time. So I mean, I don't know. It's hard. Like I always thought it was more of like a romantic love.
That's probably that's how she, I think, is in this part is how she thinks of it because she doesn't know what like the father love or like the romantic love is.
right. She definitely thinks it's a romantic love
Definitely. Until later
Because-
she.
because of like that next scene. Pretty sure it's like right after this. She goes down to the
Yeah, because Leon leaves for work and she takes this time to go downstairs to the front desk man. Is like,
she's like,
yeah, she goes down there and is like, he's my lover.
and then she's like,
Why?
yeah,
I was always confused as to why she did that.
yeah. Well,
But I actually just now was thinking it. Maybe she got upset that he kind of rejected her, like because
yeah,
he didn't give the same love because I think she's feeling in a romantic way
yeah.
and he didn't return that.
She was
So
kinda-
she's probably like upset about it or something like that, and so was like, I'm gonna get him back for it. I mean that's what I'm thinking. Other than that, I really don't know why she would have done that.
Wait, is that the face you make whenever you get like, whenever you used to get like rejected? You
Oh yeah, I'm always like.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you like viewers on YouTube or something got a nice little spectacle of that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But yeah, that's a good take.
Just
on
now,
it.
that's all I could think of.
I don't know honestly what to think like about that because it always made me. Was it trying to make you as uncomfortable as Leon was? Because watching that, I was like, oh, that's icky.
Yeah,
I
it's like, oh,
I don't. Yeah, that's how I really felt with that last movie.
I mean, you saw the desk guy's reaction where
He's like, okay.
and then she leaves.
Yeah, and then she does that little that.
I'm going for a walk.
Yeah, and then she kind of like flirted with that dude, and then that dude was obviously very very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't blame you, dude.
Mm-mm.
The hotel clerk. But yeah, then she actually goes back to her apartment where she of course gets that bunny,
Yeah, she goes to get her brother's bunny and a lot of
then-
money.
all that $20,000 wad of cash. And then she like steps on that chalk outline of the brother.
Yeah, and then
Dude,
the music kind of intensifies and makes it like sad, but kind of like, ooh.
Makes-
I mean, she
makes
saw where her brother had just died. She's standing where her brother died. And it's
kind
a
of makes
sad
you
moment.
sick. And I was trying to think like what movie did that come from? And I just remembered Back to the Future Part 2.
What?
So like this like because I was like, where have I seen where like someone stepped, and like they look down and it's like an outline of a person who had died, and like that was like really well done. It was really well done in that and Back to the Future,
I really can't think of what you're talking about right now.
like the outline.
Yeah.
Or
I guess
you mean,
it's been a
like-
while since I've seen Back to the Future.
Oh, I mean, well, okay. So the same thing happens in that where like he goes back and it's like an alternate where Marty McFly. It's like an alternate reality.
Mhm.
It had the same effect as this movie did, where like it's like, oh, that's
ooh.
kind of sick.
It's very
Like
sad.
it's like had the same emotional impact as that. Like, oh, she's standing like where
He was
someone dead was, and especially as a kid, that had to be like
It was a
traumatizing.
4-year-old brother.
And that
So
too.
she was sad about that,
That
You already
too.
know you already knew her emotional connection to her brother, and now she's standing where he died. And it's just kind of
Exactly.
like, ooh,
Yeah. So
it's intense. I
yeah,
mean,
that
nothing
was a
happened. It was just
that was
intense.
that was a pretty intense. That was a pretty intense scene. Of course, that's when she goes back. And of course, Leon comes back with his stuff. He has a gift for her. Kind of odd. And then that's where he had
Yeah,
a
he gets like a
dress.
dress for her, and she gives him like the cold shoulder. I'm not too sure why, she decided to give him the cold shoulder, but
Probably because she was like she knew what she did.
I guess so. Yeah, maybe she felt bad
Or
because then there's a knock on the door, and the guy comes up, and he's like, "We gotta have a conversation." And then boom, they're out on the streets.
yeah. And then he probably very much knows what she told him.
Well, yeah, I think the guy
Like,
explained that too.
he's like, look, I heard that y'all are lovers. Like, what are you
Like,
talking
that's very
about?
weird.
We're not lovers.
He's like,
Yeah.
that conversation had to have been awkward.
That had to be really bad. And then of course he had his bouncers with him.
Yeah, because they were getting evicted.
Yeah. So, oh well, that had to be really awkward. He probably had. I feel like it would be pissed.
I would be too. I mean, because whenever they were walking down the street to get to the next hotel, they didn't talk at all.
No. There usually is like a little scene where they're talking to each other.
Like
if
as they
ever
walk
walking.
down the street, but not in this one. He was
Yeah.
probably mad.
But yeah, that's when they get there. That's where she decides she's gonna go take matters into her own hands with Stan.
Yeah, she finds out
Gary.
where he works and everything,
That's right, because I did leave that out where she went back to the apartment.
and then Stan,
They came back.
shows up at the apartment, getting interrogated by like police officers about what happened at the crime scene,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of blows him off, and then tells him to like schedule an appointment at his office, which then he says like the location, which is 4602, I think. Yeah, 4602 in like the DEA office, and so she overhears that and learns where he is and goes to. She brings literally an arsenal in a pizza box, or not a pizza box, but I mean in like a baggie. She's just got so many guns.
Yeah, Italian food. No, he doesn't say like that. He's like Italian food.
Yeah, so then she goes to bring to send Stan to the morgue, or Norman to the morgue, and she follows him into the bathroom where she is caught, and Gary Oldman, does his pills thing, eats, and he's like creepy as heck.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when he's about to. He does the sniff thing almost to her. He's getting all up in her face.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually a good scene.
And he starts talking about Italian food because I guess he just kind of gets the vibe that he's getting something. Like
Well-
he thinks that she's hired,
Yeah,
which is why he talks about who's the chef, like who hired her.
he's just being creepy. I'm pretty sure.
He is.
He's trying to mess with her because that was a really good scene where she comes in. She's following him in. She, at this point, I guess they didn't have X-rays and like those big off. Every time you go into a place like that,
Yeah, they didn't have it.
like you have to strip down because I went to like the old where the Twin Towers was, like Ground Zero is what it's called, like just places like that. You have to take everything out like an airport,
Yeah.
and just that was crazy. So I guess at that point they didn't worry
Did
about
not
stuff
have
like that.
Yeah.
But then I do like the scene where he closes that door, or maybe was someone in there, maybe like that stall that she walks up to.
I don't think
it's
so. I think the door was just closed.
The door was closed.
and then he waits behind like the actual opening.
Did he
door.
like run and close it and then run back behind the door? Like that had to look awkward. If like if you
nobody
saw
was
it, you're
there.
like, oh, what a goober just running across. But then I was thinking like, what if someone was actually in there? He was about to kill like a little girl right in front of this dude that was in there.
But during the confrontation between Norman and Matilda, Willie, like the hippie goon, walks in and tells him that Malky had died
Mm-hmm.
to a French,
To an Italian dude.
French hitman.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the Chinese, they were doing like a deal with like some Chinese men.
Which is interesting because they were just having that thing, like we mentioned earlier, like about Italian food. Like, I want you to tell me everything you know about Italian food and the chef who made it for me.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting. And then the dude like, hey man, like, look, you know, this Italian guy, like, made it right after. So that's where he's about to kill her. Um, and he's like freaking out.
Yeah,
He's like,
whenever.
dude, he's freaking Willie the thug dude out.
Yeah, it's because like
Which,
Gary Oldman is really upset when he hears about Malky's death because they're like buddies,
yeah,
and so he's like, whenever he hears, he's like, you know,
yeah, he's really freaking out. Definitely about to kill her right there.
But
He
then
starts pointing the gun at Willie. He's like,
it's like, bring her to my office.
That's where he takes, and then that's where he goes to talk to Tony and stuff.
But that comes later because then Leon returns from his hit job, which was on Malky,
Mm-hmm.
and he sees a little letter that Matilda had left for Leon, telling her what he was doing, and then left the money for each hit. It's like $5,000 for each of the guys to kill in case she like failed.
Mm-hmm.
And so he then goes to the office, like the DEA's office, knocks out all the cops,
Yeah.
and then heads up to the room and shoots both of the goons, like Willie and another guy, and saves Matilda.
It was almost like the Matrix.
It's like,
He just like walked in.
Kind of surprised that the entire office only had 2 cop guards.
Yeah, just two
There's,
cop,
like, just
two
two
cop
guys,
guards and no X-ray.
and he just like walks in. The alarms go off, and he's like,
Yeah, they didn't even check the food.
"Yeah, I know." It was. I think that might have been a little unrealistic.
They were
but
slacking
It works.
a bit, but oh well. You
Yeah.
know, the yeah. That's after 2001 is when things really
Stuff,
picked
yeah,
up.
stuff
Yeah.
picking it up.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah. So
Gary
That-
Oldman. So after like the bathroom, he returns and goes to old Tony's place.
right.
Old Tony's throwing a birthday party for like one of his kids. Like, I don't know, one of his kids or grandkids. I don't know what he's doing, but he's throwing a birthday, and then Norman walks in there, and he starts talking to Tony. He's like, I'm dying to meet this guy. He's like, my man was killed on your turf. He's talking about Malky because he's upset.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he was killed on your turf, and he wants to know who this hitman is because he's killed other guys of his. And he's like, because he talks about the DA office because he knows about that now, that 2 of his guys were also killed there. And he's by the
Mhm.
same French guy. And he's like, I want to know who this is.
Mm-hmm.
And so he does. He finds out. You know,
I like like the quote that you said. I'm dying.
he's
to
like, I'm
meet him."
dying to meet him. And
You
so
know, he gets Joker vibes,
sometimes, yeah.
which ironically he goes on to play Commissioner Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll have to do those movies at some point.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna be
The
doing
Dark
the
Knight
Dark
trilogy.
Knight trilogy, and then maybe the Batman
The Batman.
with Robert Pattinson.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure,
sure.
for sure.
yeah. Anyway, back to
Yeah, back to this.
Léon the professional.
So-
we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then like that whole thing. Find out later they beat Tony up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you find that out afterwards. But Leon and Matilda return to their apartment, and Leon actually fell asleep in a bed, which surprised him because he jumps and like searches for a gun on a table because he never falls asleep.
Always has one eye open.
Always has one eye open. And so when he actually went to sleep, he kind of like jumps himself. He's like, "Oh,
That scene right there was kind of like because Matilda like woke up like seemed like right next to him. What was going on there? You don't know?
I don't know. I don't know."
I kind of watched that. I was like, I really hope nothing went down.
I doubt it.
I
Because
doubt
that
it.
doesn't happen at any other point in the movie where he shows any romantical interest in her.
Yeah, and then of course there's that part where like, she leaves. She's like, I'm gonna go get some milk. You know,
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
So then she practices the secret knock because they have a secret knock to get in.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to get the milk, comes back, and gets nabbed by a SWAT guy. There's like a whole team of SWAT dudes, like all down the stairs and everything.
Very surprising. Very intense.
She just gets grabbed out of nowhere, and they're like, "Is there a secret knock to get in?" She gives him a fake secret knock,
Which was cool
which is very smart of her.
because it was like 121.
I don't know, but it
Oh,
shows
shoot,
that
I
she's
should've
able to
written
like
the-
think
should've
on the
written
fly.
code down, but it was like 1, and then like the fake one started with 3. It's like 3, 2, 1. That's what I remember. And so they started with 3, and I think that was like cool. At the very beginning, Leon like heard the knock. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
let me.
because then he gets like the Alpha team is the first group to go into the apartment, and they go in, After doing the knocking, unlocking the door, they go in, and then Leon shuts the door behind, and you don't see anything. You just see bullets flying, and the door opens back up, and there's bodies all over the place.
which was awesome. Like
Snazzy.
going back to like the first scene where like just see.
And so they're like, everybody's dead. Oh my god. So then another team goes in, and another team goes in, and
That's where you see like him.
oh
up.
yeah, there's the shot, and you see that Leon is actually on the roof, like with his gun.
Yeah, and then like isn't that where he like flips down
Yeah,
and
and he
he's
flips
like,
through the door and starts shooting people through the door, which he
yeah,
does take a bullet.
he takes a bullet to the shoulder. And then that's pretty much it.
And then he goes down from the door. He goes down the hallway, up against the wall. So like a SWAT guy like peeks the corner, and then he puts the gun in his
Has it
face. And he's
right
like,
there.
"Give me the girl." So they give Matilda back to him.
I love that scene where I love that part where like it's like he turns around, it's like it's like to his head. And they're like, "What you see?" He's like, "He's right
He's like,
here."
"The
And you
guy."
see all of them like,
Yeah, they all go.
oh,
They all
like,
back up. They're like,
that was honestly like really cool. I loved that.
because I mean, he scared them all because he's just taking all their guys out like it's nothing.
Yeah, like nothing, and then like he's quiet. He just tips toe right over there, and they're like, "You're like go, just go."
Yeah, and they just give the girl, and
Yeah.
then they get back to their room, and he shoots a hole
Oh
in the
no,
wall.
that's right. He takes
The
that
fire
dude.
axe.
He's like, "You're coming with me."
Yeah.
He's like, "Go get that axe over there," because he's like kind of like Matilda, and like kind of shows like we talked about earlier with how she thinks. That shows that he's always thinking too. He
And she's
has a
starting to take part
plan.
of it.
He has like an escape plan. He definitely knows what he's doing. And it's like, okay, so she's going to get an axe, not really sure what for. And then I like how he takes the dude. But things really, no, I was thinking things really escalated because of this. He already killed a bunch of dudes already. And so he brought a guy and as like a body shield and a hostage. And he like shoots like the little sprinkler system that's when the guy's like, okay, he shot him. Let's go. And they shoot their
Yeah,
own
they
guy.
all thought-
probably
they all
don't
thought he was
realize that
dead.
They did it. They probably thought that he did it.
Yeah, they all thought he was dead. Which actually, I didn't even know he said that until I was taking my notes, and I was watching it with subtitles just to help me kind of like
Mhm.
write stuff. And I saw he was like, "Oh my god, he shot him!" I was like, "I never knew that was even in the
Mhm.
movie. I didn't know they said that. I just thought they started shooting in the hall and his dude was there, but they all thought he was dead because he just started shooting,
Right.
and so they thought he was dead, and they just started shooting, thinking he's not there.
Right. Which was cool. And then
Yeah, I never knew that was there. That kind of like I was like, "Oh, look at that."
yeah, no, that was a really smart strategy done by Léon.
Yeah.
And then that's where they go to that shoot, and he starts busting it up. No, the sniper scenes, like where there's a bunch of snipers.
Yeah, they got to go save his plant.
yeah they
And
have
so
to go
there's a bunch
save
of
the
snipers.
plant.
But then he gets the fire axe, or he shoots like a little vent and then starts chopping it open, a big
He
enough
like
hole.
shoots it a bunch of times. I
He
guess
shoots
it's
he like shoots a hole first and then goes to chop it open wider so that Matilda can fit through like this little hole in the wall. I'm not like vent hole.
yeah, it was like a vent. I don't even know.
He like puts her in there and puts the plant down there too.
He wraps the plant up
It just drops.
and he throws it in, which we'll get. We'll get to.
It
Like,
probably
later.
definitely shattered whenever they threw it down there.
The pot shattered. The plant had to be disheveled.
But you know the movie.
It's a movie. It's okay. But then so that's when she goes in. She's like, okay, this is barely big enough for me.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not going without you.
You're not coming with me. That's where she realizes, you're what's going on. He's like, I know. We're gonna meet at Tony's in an hour. In an hour, okay? And that's where she starts crying. She says she's not going. He's like, no, you're going. Starts shoving her down. And like that's where he tells her, and like the whole thing is like, you've gave me a taste for life. Which
That's why I like that whole scream that he gives at the end. Like once he puts her down there and they say their goodbyes, and she's like, I love you. He's like, I love you too.
he's like, I actually love you too.
I think that's when they realize that the love isn't romantic, or like she
doesn't have to be.
realizes it's not a romantic love. It's like a fatherly love.
Yeah.
Like that Leon's been the caretaker, and she's like, I love you. And he's
Yeah.
like, I love you too.
I think that's where they both realize, like, he realizes, like, I love you as a person. Like,
He's like, I love you like my own child.
Yeah,
He never
like-
had one, but he's like, if he had one, this would.
I love you as, like, someone, like, which is such a cool, it's almost like a romance movie. Just not, it's really cool.
And then he gives his yell. I love that yell scene. I love it. It's kind of like his will to like keep going. Like they've given each other a will to keep going.
Yeah.
A
And
will
he's
to
like,
live
"Yo, come on."
almost.
Every time I see that, the camera angle is a little different.
It's different, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, I like it. I'm like, I almost want to laugh at it, but at the same time, I'm like, nice.
And then the SWAT fire a grenade in the room and like
Yeah, they
blows
fired
the
a
whole thing up.
grenade.
And then Gary Oldman's character is like, I told you to find him, not blow the whole building.
Kill the one guy, not the whole. Take one guy down, not the whole building.
Yeah.
Because he had to point that out. There was another scene like that where it's like movies doing stupid things, and like then all of a sudden like it like the movie's like, nah, we recognize that we're doing this. I like whenever like she jumps into the taxi and the guy is like he's like, you want me to follow that car, take it, you want me to blare the music and run through all the red lights? It's like, that's exactly what they do in all the movies. She's like, no, you're gonna go slow. So I thought that was funny. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I did. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Um,
But yeah, back to like the end where
so he after the grenade goes off, he then like swaps into some SWAT clothes
Mhm.
and pretends like he's a wounded soldier, and so they bring him down, and he almost gets away. Like they all the other SWAT guys thought he was another SWAT dude because they didn't know who they were looking for.
Yeah,
None of them knew. They just were looking for a guy
yeah.
because no one recognizes him when they take the mask off. The only person who does is
Stansfield.
Stansfield.
Yeah.
He notices he notices Leon when the mask is off,
Mm-hmm.
and so he kind of waits for him to come down this little alleyway,
Mm-hmm.
which you can see for like a quick little glimpse as Leon is walking down that hallway. Like he's almost out, and you can see in that hallway there's like a little doorway, and Norman is just standing right there, which I never caught until I watched it
Yeah.
for the fourth time.
I mean, I was always like, like, okay, I know he's gonna pop out. Because I'd, watched this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And up until recently I watched it twice. But I've never noticed that. Still haven't. And now I want to go back.
I'll throw a clip up of it, and you'll be able to see it.
Okay, cool.
And y'all will too. Y'all be able to see what I'm talking about. It's really neat. Very quick little. It's like really fast that you don't see him. Like he's there and then he's gone.
Right.
Which I just was like watching it kind of slowly, and I was like, wait a minute, was that him? And I like reversed it, and I was like,
Yeah,
I've never noticed that. And like however many times I've seen that movie, never noticed that.
I'm gonna have to go check it out.
It was pretty neat. I was like, oh, that's funny.
Nice. I was always focused on Leon. It's like,
Yeah, no,
okay,
everybody is. And if you like quickly notice him in the corner, it's kind of
like-
like
in watching it again, I was like, okay, I'm wanting to take in what he's feeling, and then like he's gonna get just shot.
yeah. And so
know?
right as he's about to get out, you're like hopeful. They cut to a shot of Norman coming around the corner.
I didn't realize that you can see like the gun to the back of his like head. Like I never know. I don't know why.
You didn't know that? It's
I,
like
I never noticed because it's always right in your face, but at the same time it's kind of distorted.
yeah, it's a little down,
Because
but
it's
still there.
it's mainly focused on the back of Leon, like
Mhm.
when you're like looking outside, he's right there, and that's where you hear like the.
And there's the white because it goes to like a POV.
Yeah, it is a POV shot and it
And he
falls.
falls over.
They actually did a good job with like, where it was looking. It was kind of strange with how he like fell. It kind of looked like the camera just kind of like fell and just dropped.
Yeah,
That's
that's probably how they had to do it.
yeah.
Because I mean, I was always kind of curious as to how they did that because cameras are kind of big,
Mhm.
especially during that time. So I was wondering
Yeah,
how they
big.
managed to get that thing so close to the ground. I was like, dang.
Yeah, and then but then whenever it cuts to him laying, it's like they actually did that pretty right.
Mm-hmm. And so then Gary Oldman's character rolls him over, and then
Mm-hmm.
Leon like takes his hand and hands him a grenade pin, He's like, "This is from Matilda," and then he dies.
Yeah.
And then Gary Oldman looks in his hand. There's a grenade pin in it, and then he blows up. He's like, "Oh,"
Yeah, he opens his vest. He's like, oh.
and then just, and then he blows up.
Died. Yeah, and then Leon took the whole building out. So good job, and blows up a lot of cops. Yeah,
Sweet.
nice.
Nice.
He started.
He got Norman. That's what matters.
He started GTA. He did. But yeah, so I mean, I guess now, and then of course, like Matilda goes back
she
to that
gets
school.
to Old Tony's, and then he's like,
Yeah.
and they have, she's like sad. He's sad, and he's like, he left you his money. He gives her a little bit, and then she goes to the school, and then
Right.
plants the plant in the backyard, and then Sting starts playing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
Shape of
Sting.
My Heart.
And then she
And then
goes
that's
back,
it. That's the end.
and then she, plants the plant. And you said that plant had a lot of symbolism, and you were gonna
Yes.
talk about it
Mhm.
later. You want to talk about it?
I will actually start talking about it now. So one thing that I was doing, like, my research and stuff like that, and I started to find stuff about this plant, and he mentions in the movie that the plant is a lot like him.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't ask questions, and he has no roots.
Mm.
And she mentioned, shouldn't you plant it so the roots can grow? So the plant basically is Leon,
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I saw that is because the plant, he has no roots
Mm-hmm.
because he's a loner. He doesn't take care of anybody. He takes care of himself. Kind of like how the plant does, but I mean, Leon claims it. But the plant has no roots, and he has no roots. He meets Matilda, and starts to get roots,
Mm-hmm.
and then Matilda takes the plant and plants it so it can grow its roots. Sort of like how,
Right.
I know that's a very short version, and I kind of
like
forgot, but
the
that-
legacy of Leon.
yeah, is the plant. That
Yeah,
was
kinda-
just a lot of parallels with the plant, that I saw with
And then
Leon.
her too, kind of taking up the mantle.
That too.
You
Now
know?
she takes the plant, takes care of like him.
Right. Because that's one thing. Apparently Luke Besson wanted to make a movie many years later. He wanted to make like a sequel
When she's older.
where she's older, she's a cleaner now, and it was like a bunch of big production stuff that didn't allow it. So he made Colombiana,
Which was
Zoe
like the
Saldana.
script was inspired, or like that script
It's
inspired
pretty
that movie.
much Matilda, just not Matilda.
Mhm.
So they did that. But yeah, no, I always liked the plant. I thought it was like a cool, almost like a character. It was like a cool MacGuffin.
I just saw a lot of stuff about the plant being like his personality, about how he's uprooted, but then he's finally planted in the end because he has something to care about, which would be Matilda, and so he's got roots, which the
Mhm.
plant is then planted and able to grow its roots.
Right.
Because I think she says if you really love him, you should plant him so he
Yeah.
can grow his roots. Same thing kind of happens.
Yeah, it was always real good. They did a good job with that. Like we said, this movie is filled with so much more than we probably realize.
Yeah, I'm probably
There's
still missing
so
stuff,
much
and I'm not
more
explaining stuff
symbolism
very well either.
for like the plant, than like anyone really realizes, and like stuff that may not be on the internet for us to go and
Yeah.
research.
If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend you watch it for yourself.
Yeah, I was thinking we should have given that a warning before.
Oh, right, because
We forgot.
I forgot about that. But I recommend watching it if you haven't seen it, or
Mhm.
I mean, now that we spoiled it, still watch it anyway because
Yeah,
there's so much into the movie
it's
that
actually
we're
on
not
Netflix.
covering probably, and then there's a lot of symbolism that I'm not very good at explaining.
Right.
And-
I do have some like topics that I was gonna like kind of go over real quick.
Yeah, lay it on us.
All right. There's like the personal pros and personal cons. Like, let's see, personal pros. Did you have any personal pros? Like, which things that you really liked about the movie?
I really like how you see like Matilda's and Leon's life before and
Mhm.
kind of after. So like before, Leon's super alone, and then Matilda's like abused and neglected. Then they both are in each other's lives, and their life is like 10 times better.
Yeah.
Like Leon's no longer alone. She's not being abused or neglected. They enjoy each other's company and they take care of each other.
Yeah.
So I've always enjoyed the contrast between what you see in the beginning towards what you see at the end of the movie.
Right. Yeah. No, it's that's pretty much the same thing. You know, like I like the contrast from beginning to end within their own characters.
I enjoyed I just enjoyed watching their relationship grow through the movie.
Mm-hmm. Now I have like just the whole movie is just a perfect balance of drama and action,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is pretty hard to pull off because there's not a lot of movies that pull that off really well.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I really liked how they didn't overdo like the romantic relationship part
Yeah.
because researching this, I found that there was some scenes that they had to cut.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like apparently, like there actually were some scenes where, like there was one scene where they actually like, I think he accepts her like romantic love and is like, okay, let's but
Well, I'm glad they cut
that's
that because I liked their relationship rather than being romantic, as he kind of treats her like a daughter.
yeah, which was pretty smart. I'm glad they cut all that other stuff because as you probably know, I'm not a big fan of like that type of stuff.
Yeah,
Where,
me neither.
yeah,
She's a little weird.
with that recent movie we watched, you probably got a good glimpse on how I feel about
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, no, that was it. I think this is just an artistically beautiful action movie. Like that's the best way I can put about it. But personal cons. Let's see. Yeah, I was confused whenever the school teacher called, like the principal called at the very beginning, and it's just like a long shot of Matilda. She's just like looking down, and just like she's dead. She's like, we're wondering about Matilda. She's like, she's dead, and hangs up. Well, what was that?
I'm just assuming that that's just how she felt.
Yeah. That's a
Like she
good.
feels like she's dead because she lives with his family that does not care about her, and like she's got nowhere to go,
Yeah,
and like she probably just feels like that.
yeah.
I don't really know other
That's a
than
good
that.
explanation.
Or she just is trying to get out of school.
Yeah, that's obviously what she's trying to do, but I didn't get it. I don't know. There's some stuff in here where it's just like probably just going right over my head,
Me too, probably.
and it's just kind of like okay, obviously a reason this is in here because the rest of the movie seems so flawless and stuff. I don't know. But the
You can always
apartment raid. So when they come back, when Stansfield and his guys come back, at first I was like, man, they're just going through here using shotguns and shooting all around. I was like, how did no one like hear that?
probably just
Then
used to it.
th- that's true. That's
I
true.
mean, the old lady walks out. She's like, "Why don't you leave them alone?" She gets shot at, and she's just like,
Okay, heads back in. I like that old lady. She looked nice. She
Very.
looked familiar, like a cartoon character almost. Um, Anywho, but then I realized, so like I wrote that down as like a personal con, and then I realized someone called the cops.
"Yeah," because eventually they do
No
show
one's
up.
gonna go in and be like, "What's going on out here? I hear gunshots and stuff. I'm gonna personally investigate." No, they're gonna stay in. They're gonna call the cops. So that was answered for me. Um, but yeah, the police were pretty quick to use explosives, and
Those SWAT teams.
the SWAT team. They were like, "Oh, a bunch of guys are getting killed. Let's just use an explosive in an
Yeah, I don't think
apartment
that
where
would
you got
ever have
people
happened.
above and below."
Yeah, that would never have happened. But dramatic effects.
Yeah, we're gonna turn it into an action movie.
You know, every action movie goes
It's
beyond
like
its limits of reality.
it's probably what probably happened is Michael Bay was interning. And they're like,
It's
"Hey,
like,
what
"You
do you
should
think
blow
should
it up."
happen? Blow it up."
Love it.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, good idea,
Good idea, Michael Bay.
whoever you are." He comes on to make big explosive
Explosions.
action movies. Um, but yeah, uh, this was really weird. I mean, I don't know why. I oh, that's kind of bothering me. The way like he flipped down with like shooting, but then he like pulled himself up at a really weird angle. I was like, I don't even know why I brought it up. You know, I should have crossed that one out. But you know, I don't know why it bothered me. But
He
then I
just uses
have
his abs, which is why he works out his
yeah,
abs. Is because he just
but he wasn't using his abs. He was using like his back muscles almost. I don't know. I don't know why that bothered me enough to put it down, and then I don't know why was like, you know, I'm just gonna commit to asking the question. Anywho, do you have any like personal pros cons?
on the cons, not really,
Not really.
not really.
Pretty much the ones that like I covered.
Yeah, it's like I guess I just didn't really think about no one reacting. That one to me actually kind of just made sense.
Yeah.
Like I feel like everybody's used to it because I mean Matilda just walks right past all the blood and all the death and everything.
Yeah.
It acts like nothing's going on because I'm assuming that's just how you survive if there's a shooting in your building.
Yeah. Is that how it is in New York? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like where
I've
I
never been
live. I
to New
live out
York.
in the middle of the country, and it's like, oh, they must be hunting deer or something. I don't know. Anywho, questions needing answers. Um, we already went over what was the deal with him about to shoot her while she was sleeping. You know, he was just fighting himself with his new burden is pretty much that. You know, I mentioned like I was like he was about to break his two rules at the same time.
Yeah, no women, no kids, and be the same.
Like
woman,
both of them,
child.
a woman, child. Um, ooh, this is one I had. The lady at the end. So she asked Matilda like what happened. She's like, my parents got in a car wreck and stuff. It was terrible. It was almost believable if you were like just watching, not knowing what actually happened. Then the lady was like, no, that's not what happened. Tell me what really happened. And she came up with a more absurd story, and that's when the lady was like, oh, did that lady have the same sense as Stansfield to be able to detect lies?
I don't know. I kind of feel like she is probably used to getting lied to because she works at like a boarding school. I'm not sure what she's doing.
But then, yeah, true. But like then, like at the same time, like Matilda comes up. She's like, both my parents died in a car accident. I guess she hears that a lot. But she's like, I want you to tell me what really happened. She's like, oh, my dad was a drug dealer. The DEA came in and killed my whole family, my 4-year-old brother and everybody. And you're like, okay, stop it, knock it off. But this lady was like, in her face, like, oh, this actually happened. Poor girl.
I feel like you'd be able to tell,
Right.
like, because if someone's gonna throw like this super bizarre story, you're like, oh,
Hmm.
you know, that's probably like she told the car wreck story, and she's probably like, nah, she's lying.
And then
Then
she's
she
like,
tells like a story that's not something you just like make up.
yeah.
She's like, my family got killed by the DEA because my dad's in drugs, and then there was a hitman that I like was living with, and
Yeah, she's like, I was with the
you're like-
greatest man I've ever met.
it's like, you know what? That's probably the real story.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking, like, was she Stansfield long lost sister? You know?
It's his mother.
Maybe she was like, my brother's in the DEA and he does drug dealings because he gets me stuff, you know? Maybe like, maybe she's gonna be the next Stansfield, or the next for when Matilda gets older. She's like, you killed my brother. I found out what happened. I did my own investigating. Now, that's the sequel. That's the sequel.
That's a great sequel.
Yeah, we, you know, Luke Besson, come to us. We may have something for you, if you don't already, because you did really good with this. Gotta clear that up. And then of course, one big question is Tony playing with Leon about giving his money to Matilda?
I mean, he might,
Because
but
the way
I
he
don't
was
really
like,
think so.
the way he was, you know, like, yeah, I'll give your money. You know, just wasn't making eye contact. He looked like he was maybe lying.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't. It's not very important.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's like,
Just
is
because
he
he's
gonna
like,
actually take
he's
care
like,
of
you'll
Matilda?
count on me. And then he even gives her some money. And he's like,
He
no one
does.
rips off old Tony.
Yeah. I don't know, just some of it was like, I don't know if I trust you, dude. Anyhow. Notable acting performances. This one is full of really great acting.
Very.
We'll talk first. We'll talk about Jean Reno. You know, Of course, he wanted to portray Leon as like a child in an adult body, like we
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, and he did such a good job with that. You know, kind of like I wanted to say emotionally repressed to where you think he may have be a little off, like I was saying earlier. Um, but no, he did really good with that. Mainly with that first scene in his apartment and going to the movie theater, did great. Um, and then Natalie Portman, apparently she was the one girl chosen out of roughly 2,000 girls.
2000?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
I mean,
that's what I
she does
found.
a really good job, like
I
for
mean,
her age.
yeah. So what I read, what happened is she first got rejected. I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
And you know who almost got it was Liv Taylor, Arwen from Lord of the Rings.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh
she almost got it.
wow.
Apparently. Um, yeah. So Natalie Portman did a screening with Luke Besson. It was something with like a scene where I think she was like with the brother. I can't remember if it was like she was dead or if he was dead or not. But Luke Besson apparently was just like he just hired her on the spot. He's
Hmm.
like, no,
I mean, it's really fantastic the job she was able to portray
dude.
at her age. Like that was, it's really impressive.
Like the notable acting performance part was, I mean, like when she first goes to Leon's like door, she's like, please open, and like she's just using her face and
She
her
does a very good job.
crying.
It's like you can see that she's like in fear
Yeah,
for her life, and then she's also like sad at the same time because her family.
she's like
Or her
trying to
brother.
not grieve just to protect herself.
Yeah.
And like that, she pulled that off so well. The delivery was just incredible. I really love that. And the part when she's crying when she realizes that Leon is, you know, probably not gonna make it out of this alive. And all of her crying scenes actually are really, really well done. But apparently she had to put on some mint stuff on her eyes to make her cry.
I mean, she just might have not developed like the skill to
To
cry on
cry
command.
on
I don't even
demand.
think I can do that
I have
because that
to,
probably takes practice to be able to like.
I have to like really try that. Kind of like emotionally.
Yeah, you have to like do
Fix-
something.
Yeah, you have to really get into it. Gary Oldman, here we are.
Gary
Finally.
Oldman did go.
Yeah.
He's like my favorite. That's like one of my favorite roles Gary Oldman's ever done because he does it so well, so well.
He does. Just this one, I felt like he took it up a notch.
Like too much.
A little too much.
I honestly really liked it. I can
Some,
see what
there
you're
were
saying.
some
It'd be
parts
too
where I
much.
was like laughing, but at the same time, okay, hold up. At the same time, I was like, he's very psychotic, and I dig it.
It's just kind of like I would imagine someone who's like on drugs working in the DA at the same time is like, this dude's just crazy,
Yeah,
and so he portrays insanity.
yeah,
Like,
he does it really well.
every time he bites his thing, he's always like does like these weird twitching. It's like,
Yeah, well-
geez, what are you eating right now?
Yeah, what even reaction is this?
Yeah.
I don't know, but no, he did really great. That's kind of how I felt. Like he took it up a notch. He improvised a lot.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't know that, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he improvised most of his dialogue apparently. Like, and then one part, or that part, he's like, "Bring me everyone." He's like, "What do you mean everyone?" He's like, "Everyone."
I love that scene.
He did that. He said it like that, and he's just like his eyes pop out of his head and stuff.
It's like,
He like did that to make Luke Besson laugh.
oh really?
He did that just to make him laugh, and then the director was like, that made me laugh, but we're keeping that in. Like it was really good.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, and then of course like his the whole thing where he's like talking about Beethoven, like I mentioned earlier,
I think that's a
improvised.
pretty fun little character
Yeah,
piece to put in there.
I did note that every now and then his accent, where you can tell he's not American, the way he says some things are like, I don't know. I don't know if it was just me knowing that.
Maybe
'Cause,
I don't think I noticed what you're talking about, or maybe I did, but maybe just kind of like ignored it. I don't know.
because he's English.
Yeah.
I mean, like by the time he's playing Commissioner Gordon, like that was the first things I'd seen him in,
Me too.
and I always thought he was just an American dude. But Tony, Danny, we're not gonna butcher it. Did great with being just a mysterious mob boss.
Yeah, he's only in there a little bit, but anytime he's there, it's like
It's powerful.
he's like, okay,
And
something
every
important's
scene
happening.
is informative,
Yeah,
and he really helped with that. And I thought it was great. The one thug, the hippie Willie, Willie One Blood. Like I don't know, just every time he was on the scene, I was like, this guy's funny. He's real dopey.
He's dopey. I
But
was like, how did this guy get it to work in the DEA?
yeah,
It's like, how did what?
but I don't know why. Just his performance did strike me. I was like, oh, the guy's like,
I mean, he did his character very well.
yeah, like I noticed that he's actually doing pretty good. But yeah, and then her dad did great. There's a lot of like small actors like Malky did great.
Every character, like these supporting roles, all helped amplify like the lead characters.
Right.
Like Matilda with her crappy family.
Yeah.
It's like it helps amplify her background and why she's how she is. And then Norman and all of his like goons all
yeah,
amplify him.
they all did a great job.
Yeah. They all work
Um,
together very well.
Yeah, they really did. Next category I got is favorite quotes. Kind of went over a few.
Yeah.
You know, like just I feel like this movie isn't full of iconic quotes. Like you don't hear these, but there's a few you can come in like, yeah, I really like that one. Like,
Yeah. No one's gonna say the pizza doesn't have anchovies on it, so it's not poison.
yeah, that's probably my favorite. He's like, careful, man.
He's like, it might be poison. He's like, nah, this doesn't have anchovies on it.
Like, nah, man, it ain't got anchovies.
No one's
on it."
gonna repeat that like Apocalypse Now with I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah, you know, it's not gonna be iconic like that. No, like I'm the dude, man. Of course, when Tantu's like, "There's a man who'd like to see you," what's he look like?
Serious.
Serious.
It's like someone's coming up. Somebody's serious.
Someone's coming up. Somebody's serious. And then, of course, he's like, "I'm a cleaner. I'm a cleaner." I'm trying to get the accent right. I'm not gonna try anymore. But one that really struck me when I was watching it was when the bathroom scene where Gary Oldman is up in Matilda's face. He's like, "Do you like life?"
Oh yeah, that part. Yeah, yeah.
She says, "Yes." He's like, "Good, because I take no pleasure in taking life if it's from a person who doesn't care about it." I was like,
Helps
"Oh,
amplify
he's
his
a bad
creepiness.
guy.
Like, he's a bad dude.
He is a bad man. Like, doesn't take pleasure from taking. He'll kill someone who loves life, but doesn't take pleasure from. Like, it's twisted.
Yeah, it is very twisted.
To kill anyone, first off.
Yeah, but like to
But-
kill him or to take pleasure from killing somebody because they enjoy life. This is, oof, okay.
Like, just thinking about that, I don't
messed
like
up.
that. Of course, life always this hard, or is it just when you're a
Oh,
kid?
Like
Always like this.
always like this.
Um, you know, Stan, he's dead. I know, but he ruined my suit.
Oh
After
yeah.
he's like shooting like the dad multiple times, he's like reloading. All right, so next, score and soundtrack,
Score is very good.
very well
know,
done, very well
Eric
done.
Sarah did
Eric Serra.
did the score and he did a very good job. I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the music was kind of French like.
Yeah, it was French, like especially like the shot like over Manhattan in the first. Like,
They're all
that's what
very kind of French esque.
Yeah,
type
I
of
was like, oh, this.
type of tunes, and it's very nice.
It's like it sounds like the composer may be familiar, and I've never heard of this guy in my life. I was, I should insert like the cinematography, well done. I did see. Let's see, I had it up. Cinematography was done by Thierry Arbogast. He's done some stuff that I noticed. Not too familiar, but a lot of French stuff. Like there was one Nikita is what it's called with Jean Reno, who the character is based off of that Luc Besson did before. It's a French film, pretty sure. Story rewrites or inserts, if any.
I don't have any.
Yeah, the only thing I put is I wish there was more of a showdown between Leon and Stan at the end,
Mhm.
like more of a gunfight. before, but then like, then it wouldn't work with that cool. The ending is great.
Yeah, I like the ending because he caught him off guard, and so Norman thought he won, and then he turns around, hands him the grenade, and then he blows up, realizing he didn't win.
Yeah,
It's like, dang.
I
get it.
don't know. I guess I kind of felt like it would be cool to see like more of like a gunfight between them two. I don't know,
Maybe.
but but then like I love the grenade scene. Recasting Annie. The only one I could think of was the fat man at the beginning. Just he did great, but I kind of like, I don't know, the way he delivered some of his stuff just felt a little too vanilla. So I was thinking, Mike Starr. He's like in Goodfellas and Dumb and Dumber. Like there you go. That
Oh
guy.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
I could see him being
Yeah, like he would be more of like Italian, like he was supposed to be. I'm pretty sure. I felt like he would have done it a little more. He was just a little bigger, but yeah, that's it for Léon the Professional, directed by Luc Besson, 1994. But yeah, thank you all for joining us at the Bowtie Movie Lounge. Next week, this man will be out.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on a vacation for Thanksgiving, so you'll have a guest with you instead of me.
Yeah. I'll introduce him next week, not to get ahead of ourselves. Just in case anything happens, like we mentioned earlier, I got chickenpox last week. He was out before filming project.
So there was a bit of a space between our last episode.
Yeah.
It was supposed to happen a lot sooner, but some complications happened.
Did I mention what movie we're doing next week?
No.
I can't remember. But we're doing Dune, the 2021 version. I forget when the other one was made, like 80s? Yeah, somewhere. But no, we'll be doing Denis Villeneuve's 2021 Dune. I'm going to have to really brush up on that one.
Yeah, that's going to be a good episode.
It's going to be a good episode. We're most likely going to redo it just to have you on eventually, and then we'll have next guest back on. So, all right. Well, again, thank you all so much for joining. Please tune in next week. Again, I'm Jacob.
I'm Gabe.
And then this is the Bowtie Movie Lounge.